You probably remember these classic Pokemon cards. They're pretty awesome, but did you know Topps also made transparent cards, puzzle cards, pop-ups, stickers, and even ones with real film cells? In 1999, Topps won the licensing contract to produce American Pokemon cards, but took a strange approach with some really wacky designs. Is this what caused the downfall of Topps Pokemon cards, or was it something else? Topps is much older than Pokemon, being founded in 1938 as a chewing gum company in Brooklyn, New York. About a decade in, they decided to pack in trading cards with the gum in order to boost sales. This started in 1949 with a small set called Magic Photos, but later developed a full-on baseball card set in 1952. This would later become the most expensive collectible card set in history, which included a Mickey Mantle rookie card. This is now considered the holy grail of trading cards, with even the first edition Charizard trembling in its shadow. Not only did this set produce such a legendary card, but it also set the standard size for trading cards that we still use today. It didn't take long for Topps to notice the success of their trading cards, and they even bought out their main competitor Bowman in 1956. But interestingly, they started to pack in the gum with the trading cards. No longer did you buy gum and get a card, you now bought a pack of cards and got a stick of gum. They became leaders in sports cards, having released baseball, football, basketball, and hockey cards, but then explored other IPs such as Mars Attacks in 1962, Star Wars in 1977, and Garbage Pail Kids in 1985. As things started to heat up, competition became fierce. If you're into sports cards, you might recognize the names Fleer, Donruss, and even Upper Deck, which would later be credited for pioneering higher quality cards with higher resolution photography and holograms. Impel was responsible for Marvel Universe, which helped kick off the comic book trading card scene. But then the trading card market boomed and became oversaturated with cards from every IP, resulting in a drastic correction. Now I don't know about you guys, but I even have trading cards from this era and I was a baby, so I don't know why I have these. So just as the market was cooling off, a gigantic monster of a franchise was on its way to change Western collectible culture forever. But it wasn't that big of a monster, because they could fit into your pocket. This meant that Pokemon licensing deals were inevitable, and someone was going to land a pretty healthy contract when it came to trading cards. Now we already know that Wizards of the Coast was granted the distribution rights for the already well-established official trading card game, but Topps was chosen to produce their own line of trading cards. Now it might seem weird that two different companies got to make Pokemon cards, but it's not that simple. Wizards' deal was negotiated directly with Creatures, Game Freak, and Nintendo, but Topps' license was through 4Kids Entertainment, which managed Pokemon's media rights outside of Japan, and only licensed trading cards based on the anime to Topps, with the caveat that they had to be non-playable, so they wouldn't interfere with the TCG. So Wizards, who were already experienced with tabletop games and their own TCG, Magic the Gathering, got to handle the Pokemon TCG, and Topps got to handle what was basically Pokemon sports cards. And they were off to the races. Topps produced Series 1 of Topps Pokemon cards, which was hugely popular, and released Series 2 along with movie-specific sets after. Oh, and Topps never left the confectionery business. They were still producing candy like the Baby Bottle Pop, Ring Pops, and these Lollipops, which were filled with gum and came with a sticker. These are a deep core memory for me. However, the Pokemon Company was tightening its control, and in an attempt to unify the brand, did not renew Wizards' contract in 2003. Was Topps next on the chopping block? Most sources online claim that Topps' contract with Pokemon ended sometime in the year 2004, probably because that's when they stopped making new sets. But I found this 2007 SEC filing where Topps reports that their license actually expired in May 2007. However, there is also some talk of legal challenges that took place in 2004. The European Commission investigated Topps Europe for anti-competitive behavior and fined 1.6 million euros. I couldn't link this legal trouble directly with Topps' decision to halt Pokemon card releases, but with such a large fine, I'd imagine it was at least a factor. A couple other details I read in the SEC filing were that Topps Pokemon sales were declining year over year, losing popularity quickly. Also, unlike Wizards of the Coast, Topps was not anticipating the contract to be renewed, and it sounds like they were fully expecting a cancellation. The Pokemon Company was already cleaning up a mess in Japan, with card-ass Pokemon cards, Topps Pokemon cards, and bootleg cards being distributed, so they're probably looking to do the same globally. Let's take a look at how Topps utilized their 75 years of trading card experience to develop American Pokemon cards. So the first Pokemon cards to be released by Topps look like this. They're cool, but it's not very interesting, is it? They offer different holo patterns and a few jumbos, but Series 2 is when they spice things up. The first thing I want to share with you is these transparent cards. First of all, they're made of acrylic plastic, which means you'll get the reverse image if you flip it over. They made 10 of these in total. Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charizard, Squirtle, and Mewtwo are from Series 2, and Venonat, Mew, Togepi, Scyther, and Lapras are from Series 3. Most of them strike fairly ordinary poses, but Pikachu and Squirtle look extra cute. And I have good news, these cards are fairly affordable and grade well with high populations. That means there are lots of 10s out there, keeping the price reasonably low. And as I mentioned, they aren't made of cardboard, so they're a little more durable than most cards. Topps was obsessed with sticker cards. Of course, we've seen this elsewhere, and as early as 1996 with the Bandai Card-ass Prisms, but I wouldn't say Topps went all out. They made these sticker cards, which are uninspiring and resemble something you'd get for free with a kid's meal. That being said, they are cute and, for me, rather nostalgic. Now if you flip them over, you'll get a section of a larger image. These are also puzzle cards. So there are 2 different puzzles to complete. Sticker cards 1 through 9 complete a Mewtwo image, and 10 through 18 complete one of Ash. These were produced with the Topps Pokémon The First Movie, set in 1999. However, Topps Series 2 gave us some stickers that were actually kind of cool. They made 10. Wartortle, Nidoking, Poliwhirl, Arbok, Ditto, Jigglypuff, Geodude, Pikachu, Rattata, and Charmander. They have this trippy, almost tie-dye design for the background, and the illustrations are a little more dynamic. Now here's the interesting part. When you peel them, the sticker is mostly clear, and the Pokemon comes off the card. If you flip these over, you get to piece together a puzzle again. Topps also made a standalone set for the Pokemon The Movie 2000, or The Power of One, and these are pretty awkward. So these are similar to other stickers, but the idea is that you would place them onto the puzzle side of the cards for an opportunity to creatively build a scene from the movie. There are 10, but you could also get them with a white background, so there are 20 in total if you feel some strange desire to collect these. Now Topps also made some stickers in later sets featuring Gen 2 Pokemon, but they were pretty simple stickers, nothing interesting. I like the idea of having interactive cards, but not the one-time use factor. This is why I have such a liking for the die-cut cards. This isn't a factory error. It's supposed to be cut like this. You know what's always bothered me about Pokemon cards? The straight edges. Fitting together janky, sharp edges that are prone to damage is much better. So they actually made these for both movie sets, Series 2, Series 3, Johto Series 1, Johto League, Advance, and Advance Challenge, for a grand total of 105 die-cut cards. So the Series 2 and Series 3 die-cuts are the most common. They're also embossed, which means the Pokemon jumps out a little bit for a 3D effect and have unique cut edges. They come in sets of 3, each being their own evolution line, and each has their own unique background, which I think are actually really good looking. Some of the edges look cool, but are an absolute nightmare for durability. Alakazam's evolution line is probably the worst, along with Charizard's, Dragonites, and Butterfrees. But as we move forward into the later Johto and Advanced sets released from 2001 to 2004, they dialed it back to more subtle designs, with the exception of Pikachu and Flaffy. These later sets are more rare and expensive due to lower quantity. But if you find die cuts interesting, well, so does everyone else. These aren't cheap to collect. But they don't reach vintage TCG prices, unless you go for graded 10s, because, well, some of them have like a dozen easy to damage corners on them. Sometimes I think grading this kind of thing is silly because it kills the usability and you can't actually put them together to form the larger image. But I understand that one would want to protect these to preserve their original form, much like the pop-up cards. Remember pop-up books from when you were a kid or a grown-up Harry Potter collector? Can you imagine if they did that to Pokemon cards? Well, unfortunately, they did. Starting with Topps Pokémon Series 3, they gave us 10 pop-up cards. Now, I wasn't prepared to pay the premium for one of these just to fold it in half, so I printed one out instead because I wanted to properly demonstrate this monstrosity. So you have to fold the card twice in order to complete this, and this is what it looks like when it's done. The one you see here is from Series 3, so it includes Gen 1 Pokemon and some characters. The pop-ups from Johto include Gen 2 Pokemon, and the Advanced series featured Gen 3 Pokemon, but you know how they always jam Pikachu in there, so. I sort of touched on this earlier, but as Topps went on making cards, they were losing popularity, and so the later sets are hard to find. In this case, the pop-ups are extra difficult to track down because, well, they had instructions on the back telling you to permanently damage the card. So, I don't know, how do you feel about these? Personally, I think they're neat, but much better suited for a Happy Meal toy or something like that. Yes, PSA does grade them, but the population is low, probably because of a lack of interest, unlike the first appearance cards. I believe I saved the best for last. First appearance cards. There are 6 in total, and these are hologram cards. Now, from what I understand, the way these were produced isn't the classic holography technique where you actually cast light upon an object, but the effect is close. The Pokemon is in the foreground and the Pokeball design is in the background, and it will shift horizontally, creating a sense of depth. These are some of the most expensive Topps Pokemon cards today, and actually some of the most expensive Pokemon cards, period. They are infamously difficult to grade, never achieving 10s. Only 6 were made, including Lugia, Slowking, Blossom, Elekid, Ladybug, and Hoothoot. They brought hologram cards back in Johto Series 1, and while they're still sought after and valuable, don't reach the record-breaking heights of the first appearance Lugia and friends from the second movie set. But hiding in these packs was one more insane, absolute grail of a card. The authentic film frame card looks like a Pokédex, but has an actual 35mm film frame from the movie. According to Topps, one 35mm reel was used to create these, so no two are the same. They are each one of a kind, and we don't know how many were made. So I know we only skimmed the surface of Topps cards, but those are some of the wild and wacky American-made Pokemon cards of the early 2000s. Are these what caused Topps Pokémon to fail? I don't think so. I don't know if there was anything Topps could do to compete with the earth-shattering force of the TCG, but I'm glad they tried, otherwise we wouldn't have these gems today.